approve of that, what will you say to them?
In terms of identifying our children's needs or our children's interests, that is, I would say that it is by getting closer to the child that you are able to. Unfortunately, for most parents, you have to go to work and sometimes working extra hours, which I was part of at some point. Working extra hours, you come home, you're tired, you are not even able to have a decent conversation with the child, and it's just like this motion going on a day-to-day basis. But regardless, you need to take the time to come closer to the child and to be able to know what they're interested in. What I've realized is that when you speak to our children, they speak. If you speak in their interest, so I think the other day we were talking about it, and I was thinking, actually, even when we were growing up, even in Africa, it was the same. Any parent who would have, or any adult who would pay attention to you, we were kind of gravitated towards them. So sometimes this issue of, oh, our children don't talk or our children don't like to be associated with us is a myth. It's just because we are not giving them the attention sometimes. And so that if you give them the attention and you have a free flowing conversation, you'll be able to spot what they love to do. In terms of what they love to do, especially social media, we don't need to teach them any social media skills. Actually, that one I think they came from their mother's womb with it. They know what to do. By the age of 3, 4, they are already exposed to social media. But it's the case of, I think your question was about the interest. How would you know what they're interested in? And again, it's about having a conversation. Also, remembering that when you are asking them to do things, for example, if it's a case of, okay, I want you to start on social media and share what you're passionate about, you have to be able to articulate what that would benefit them with. There's a saying also, what's in it for me? It's a quote. In every transaction, what is in it for them? If they can't see what is in it for them, it is hard work. So they are not going to engage in hard work that they wouldn't see the end result, or they wouldn't see what the picture would look like. So as a parent, if you are able to paint the picture for them, it is easier for them to buy into what you are selling, in quotes, for them. Also ensure that you are celebrating the win. So when we started, for example, my girls would get 5 followers, and then we will celebrate it. It was just a case of actually enjoying the journey rather than kind of thinking that, okay, this has to be this or that. It is just a case of young people are sharing what they're passionate about. Adults and their fellow young people are following them. And for me, it's a big deal. If I'm able to voice something for someone to even comment back, that is a privilege. And I always made sure that they understood that. The fact that you would send a post out and someone will comment on it, I made them to feel special about that. The fact that you are speaking and people are listening. I mean, you're not literally speaking, but when you send a post and someone comments on it, you have to celebrate that because you have at least gotten attention of one person. And then when they got followers, it was just a matter of things that they would come and say, oh, and I got how many, whatever number of followers. It wasn't like they were getting flood of followers. They will get about 1 or 2 followers, and within a week they'll get about 5 followers or 10 followers, and then we will celebrate it. And yes, so gradually they got to realize that this was actually working, about the fact that people were commenting and liking their posts and sharing. And because they're doing that, gradually they are learning the marketing skills as well, in this direction. So
You said, you mentioned some key pointers there. The first one, not being too busy as a parent, and we are busy. That's the reality of life. Because if we are too busy, then we don't have time to pay attention. We don't have time to take note. We don't even have time to have conversations with our children. Our children must not be like some of us. Some people, have died and gone to their graves with all their dreams, with all their visions, with all their passions. And they've not been able to do anything whatsoever We don't want to make those mistakes. We cannot be too busy, you know. And another thing you've mentioned as well. So that's one thing that as parents we really need to take on board. Not being too busy that we don't have time to have these conversations with our children. You know, they might be thinking of stuff. And again, you said one thing. You know, us not putting them down because back in the days, honestly, if I came and told my parents that I wanted to do baking, they would say to me, "That's foolishness." Because all our parents knew was university. Go to university and you want to do sewing, you want to do all of those things, and those are the things that pay skills. So we are not saying our children should not work or go to university, but they are learning to start building and creating multiple streams of income. We all need that. Even as adults, if you've not started yet, I think it's wise enough to start now because just think about it. When we get our salaries, unless somebody's salary is really high and is able to sustain every other thing that one does. But for most people, if you're in a working class category, once the taxes come out, what is left? You have to pay your bills. You can't even give yourself a nice treat. You can't be a blessing to people. You are unable to do something. So imagine by the time you educate your children and let them be aware of what they can start doing for themselves, the benefits that come, alongside that. I've just shared my testimony of, my children, how they ask me for something, especially my daughter, because she's so happy. She's happy to do her baking. She's happy to source out her customers, and she's building up little by little. Another number three point that you raised, when your children started, you taught them to celebrate gains and wins. Some of us,